You're listening to Seattle Real Estate Podcast.
San Francisco mayor declares a state of emergency to combat overdose deaths and crime. Notice how we've got overdose deaths in there as the first one and crime secondarily. What's going on here? Let's read a little bit from NBC, should we? Let's just see how they spin this, because we've covered this topic many times, kind of the explosion of crime going on, the explosion in certain cities of the whole illegal drug use. And we know what the deal is, but how is this being spun in mainstream media? Let's check it out. Before we do, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Sean Reynolds. I own a couple of real estate companies and I read the news from that perspective. So let's jump on in. And you might ask, well, why are we reading about what San Francisco is doing? Because San Francisco is no different than Seattle in many of these instances. The mayor of San Francisco was a big time defund the police. They defunded their police by either 120 or 112 million, something like that. And then shockingly, you've got this stuff going on that all of a sudden we're like, oh, we got to do something. Let's declare a state of emergency. And even Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, is like, oh, we got to do something. We got to do something. Let's jump on in here. The emergency declaration will allow the city to cut through the red tape that delays the public response to deteriorating conditions in the Tenderloin, officials said. Tenderloin district, that's where the homeless have always been. It's always been a rough area. And now it's just kind of like a wasteland. You can peruse a couple of videos on YouTube and you're like, oh, okay, so this is like truly the ghetto area of San Francisco from the standpoint of there's no ghetto areas really like in a Seattle or San Francisco, but there are areas that are overrun with this kind of stuff, the stuff that we're talking about. Mayor of San Francisco on Friday declared a state of emergency in the Tenderloin in an effort to bring down overdose deaths and violent crime in one of the city's poorest and most drug-infested neighborhoods. Mayor London Breed said at a news conference attended by the police chief and other public health personnel that rapid drug intervention is needed because about 2 people a day are dying from overdoses, mostly from fentanyl, and in the Tenderloin in the city's south of Market neighborhood. I've been talking about this for a long time. I mean, this is just something that's wildly out in the open, and I think it's gotten to that point where, politicians are like, all right, yeah, okay, yeah, the crime is off the hook. Let's link it up with the drugs because maybe that is why this crime is going on, but let's isolate it. Let's isolate it from the standpoint of we need to get these people help. And then, and then over here, we've got this little crime problem. The two are directly related, right? And then when you defund the police, you kind of give everybody the impression that, hey, we could probably get away with more of this stuff. And then you hand them out free needles and you wonder why you got a problem, right? I mean, and just all the other stuff that goes along with what's been going on in San Francisco and Portland and Seattle, those specific West Coast cities. And all of a sudden the mayor's like, we need to declare an emergency. Good Lord, what's going on here? It's an emergency. This is not something that happened overnight. This has been happening for years and years and years. And yet now it's gotten so bad that people are, politicians, we need to do something. Never mind that whole defund the police thing. We're going to leave that in the rearview mirror. That's the past. We got to deal with this right now. 2 people a day are dying. They've been dying like this for years. I mean, and then just all of a sudden, but because we're going to tie it into crime, that's what we're doing. The Tenderloin has long been an epicenter of homelessness and drug use, but city officials said the problem has worsened as the national opioid crisis escalated over the course of the pandemic. This is a public health emergency, demanding a crisis-level response with massive urgency, coordination, and determination to confront this epidemic, Breed said, adding that she hopes the measures will save lives. So let's just talk about that a little bit. So where are the drugs that are killing everybody? They're fake. They're like fake oxys with fentanyl in them because fentanyl is manufactured and you can create it and it is extremely strong, and that's why it's killing people. People are getting these drugs thinking they're one thing. Everybody knows, all right, you get the little blue pills. You may or may not have fentanyl in there, and if you have a dose that you can't handle, that's how you get to 2 people a day, dying in the Tenderloin district from ODs. Where is this stuff coming from? Yeah. From what I can understand, it's coming out of Mexico. So there's that. It's not like all of a sudden it's not like people are going to pharmacies and getting this stuff, are they? So how are the drugs coming into the country? That's an interesting one. What border would they be coming through? I don't know. I'm going to have to get back to you on that, though. The emergency declaration will allow the city to cut through red tape that delays the public response to deteriorating conditions in the Tenderloin and quickly provide shelter, counseling, and medical care to people suffering from addiction, Breed and other city officials said. So we're going to focus on the addiction part of this. And then secondarily, there's some crime going on, but, pretty standard stuff. There will also be more coordinated enforcement of illegal activities. Interesting. Street cleanups and other infrastructure improvements to make the neighborhood safer, they said. Well, in order to do that, you are going to have to clean house in the Tenderloin. You're going to have to clean house, and you're going to have some kind of enforcement, because just going in and doing a little bit of stuff, that's not going to work. Everybody in theory can talk about all the policies they want around no police and defund the police. But at the end of the day, if someone beat your kid like that 11-year-old girl, who are you going to call to protect? Breed said. This is literally the same mayor she was big time on board with defund the police. And now all of a sudden, we're not. Who are you going to call to protect you? She's basically saying the same thing I have for months and months and months here, a couple of years here now, since we had that whole, that's a good idea until it's not. She was referring to a Muslim girl in a hijab who was punched in the head on September 29th by a woman who made racist comments. She was arrested for assault, child endangerment, and a hate crime. Breed's announcement came a few days after she pledged to crack down on open drug use, brazen home break-ins, and other criminal behavior that she says have made a mockery of the city's famed tolerance and compassion. It's a free-for-all. It is the Wild West in San Francisco, and it's on social media, and we can all watch it and just kind of go, well, yeah, that's happening, but it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? It kind of makes sense. You've got a situation where you can't really control your streets. You don't have enough police to cover everything. Everybody is a little bit short-staffed. And you defunded the police by how much? And then all of a sudden you're looking around going, we've got some crime going on here. This isn't good. We got to do something. So that's where they're at. But it's like, okay, but this is not an overnight thing here, folks. You've been working on putting this together inadvertently, or however you want to see it, for a long, long time. Now here we are, and we need a state of emergency. That's interesting. It's kind of like the city of Seattle declaring a homelessness emergency like 6 years ago, and it's just gotten worse. It's literally just gotten worse. It seems like there's some fundamental underlying pinning things going on here that we don't really want to address, but we want to smooth them out. Let's get some more cops up in here. Yeah, that'll do it. San Francisco is grappling. This is the good one. San Francisco is grappling with deep societal pains common to any large U.S. city. Well, that is not true. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to read this article, because it's statements like that people who don't know any better are like, this just happens everywhere. This happens. It doesn't. It's not happening everywhere. It's just happening in cities like San Francisco and Portland and Seattle and Philadelphia. I mean, is there a common theme there? Yeah. So, it's these progressive cities, cities with progressive ideals, no bail bond, hand out drugs, hand out paraphernalia, you name it, make all the crimes just not a crime anymore. And then you wonder why you've got this going on. And that's not the way it is in all big U.S. cities, is it? No, it's not. And yet mainstream media would lead you to believe that, these are just common societal pains that you find in any large U.S. city? Yeah, no. A high percentage of an estimated 8,000 homeless people in San Francisco, many of whom pitch tents in the Tenderloin, are struggling with chronic addiction or severe mental illness, often both. Some people rant in the streets, nude and in need of medical help. We see that pretty often here in Seattle. I mean, that's not an uncommon thing. And those are some of the things in the homeless encampments when you've got them like next door to a school. Those are kind of some of the things that you're hoping that your third grader doesn't have to, witness. Because those are those things where, well, what happened to you? Well, when I was a kid, I saw a naked homeless man and, I mean, you just can't make that stuff up. And where was this? Oh, it was at my school. Yeah, they were allowing a homeless encampment, next door. They just thought it'd be okay. And, for learning, we learned a lot that year. Oh boy. So last year, 712 people died of drug overdoses compared with 257 people who died of COVID-19. That's an interesting stat to have in mainstream media, isn't it? So now we're kind of looking at things and going, all right, yeah. So the whole fentanyl thing, that is a real epidemic. And this has been going on. I would say that started hard in 2019, where you started to see the media pick up on that going, oh, there's an OD over there. And, oh, yeah, there's an OD over. This is not good. What's going on here? And it's just consistently gotten worse, right? So you had nearly 3 times the number of people die from drug overdoses versus COVID. And yet this is the first we've really heard about this as far as this is an emergency in San Francisco. Critics said Breed was backing down on a promise made last year to cut police funding amid a nationwide reckoning of police and systemic racism. Folks can say what they want about this going back on your word, this and that, but at the end of the day, the people in this community are not safe, and it's not fair, and it's not right, the mayor said. I watched the interview, and what was shocking to me is, and I've talked about this a lot, is the pivot, the full pivot of, all right, we're going to head this way towards defunding the police. And then literally, not that many months later, if you count it in months, it's been a year and a half, whatever. And where all of a sudden you've got the mayor going, yeah, I don't care what you say about defunding the police. We got to make our people safe. I believe there were certain people out there saying, hey, don't do that. And you need to focus on this other stuff because that's probably more important. But, I think this is maybe something that people have to experience firsthand. Now, the crazy situation here is that these politicians have known this is going on in their communities and have chosen to basically look the other way. And it's okay. They'll be fine. Not too many of them are going to die in their tents. Not too many. And now all of a sudden we're like, oh, there's 2 a day dying in the Tenderloin. We got to do something. And, the huge issue is that the homelessness and the drug abuse and the crime, they are all related. Because, I've interviewed and I've talked with 𝒆𝒂𝒕𝒍𝒆 from 𝑬𝒔𝒕𝒕𝒍𝒆 who goes out and voluntarily picks up garbage. And in talking with her and in interviewing with her and in talking to other people involved in the homelessness community or the unhoused community, and in talking with people living in those communities and watching videos and just seeing people interact, it's known that such a large portion of the homeless community has an issue with drugs. I mean, they are addicted to drugs. And that to me is, that it's just going to be a tough road to get people off the streets, off the drugs, not stuck in a life, that circle of crime. These folks are in it. And so to do a state of emergency, okay, maybe you can cut through some red tape. And then all of a sudden you're going to flood the streets with police officers to the exact thing that the whole defund the police was against. It was take the money from the police departments and give it over to, other aspects of the community. They're going to help us out here. Well, those other aspects of the community haven't been able to help us out here so far. We haven't seen it. Here in Seattle, we had gorgeous Dre, Andre Taylor, brother of Che Taylor, who was killed in Seattle, and 𝒂💧💧 was being paid $120,000 a year by the city of Seattle. And I don't know whatever came of that, but, we had certain things that we were working towards that, entities that were going to help out with the violence. And I'm not saying that if you flooded the streets with a whole bunch of cops right now, that you're going to do a major dent in the violence, but it's got to be better than what we've got going on right now, right? I mean, some of the shootings are, I've added Memphis to my cities to kind of monitor, and oh boy, they have got some crime going on there. That's scary stuff. I didn't really realize that. Because I've had a focus on most of my career on real estate and topics impacting real estate. That whole crime thing, that to me was something when I was in high school and early in college. It was like all the old people are talking about crime, rising crime. Deal with it, folks. And then you get to a point where you're like, I don't want to go into downtown. It's too violent. There's too much crime. And as an adult, you're like, whoa, Nelly, what do we got going on here? And I think we've got just what's been going on for years and years and years. It is just rising to a level where everybody is at a point where they can't really, it's just, it's normal big city stuff. It's normal big city crime. We're just dealing with kind of a tough stretch now. No, it's out of control. I mean, it's out of control here in Seattle. You walk around and you see it. Kensington in Philadelphia. Ooh. Wow, that is not some good stuff. If you want to watch some videos on that on YouTube, if you're a parent, if you've had family members addicted to anything, that is not good stuff to be watching, because you're like, oh my gosh, these people are literally walking zombies. They are walking zombies. And a lot of this is impacting. I've had the same response from people in Portland as well, some of the downtown Portland areas, and downtown Seattle, where you've got these folks walking around, and they're either on heroin or they're doing some of the new meth, and the new meth just makes them psychotic, and so they're just it's heartbreaking to see. And then you get upset because it's just allowed to it's okay. Here's a tent. You'll be good. Sleep on the sidewalk. It's okay. You need a clean needle, go to the library. You're all good. No, there's food, and here's some money each month to make all this go around. Here's some clothes. I'm not saying that being a homeless person and addicted to drugs is by no means easy, but there are certain cities, San Francisco included, who have made this way easier than it should be. And from that standpoint, I think these cities attract a lot of this. I think the city of Seattle is attracting homelessness just like flies to you-know-what right now, because the word is out. Seattle will take care of you. And we do. And then the population explodes and everybody's like, it's affordable housing. It's not affordable housing. It's people coming here because you are enabling a lifestyle that is continuing to just basically explode as far as numbers go. And I don't see it any different way. So until you get to a point as a city or as a community where you're like, yeah, we're not going to back any of that stuff. We're going to have a cold, hard, anti-stance on all this stuff. It's going to be a while, because this didn't happen overnight, and you're not going to cure it overnight, unfortunately. And so it'll be interesting to see what actually happens if you flood the streets with cops. Okay, let's give that a whirl. Why wouldn't we? What about just all the cops that we used to have? And what if we would have kept them and kind of gone down that road? I mean, that's a thought, but that's too far past that now. Where was I reading? It was a community. Oh, it was a community here in just north of, just across the King and Snohomish County border. It's the city of Edmonds. We had a famous Olympic skater. Who was that? A young lady. I can't remember. She's got a street named after her. But Edmonds, looking to add, a bunch of people, a bunch of positions within their police department. And we're not talking a major city by any means. It's a smaller community, but they're offering, I think, $15,000 signing bonuses. So many of these cities are offering signing bonuses but it's like offering signing bonuses to appraisers here right now in the state of Washington. You can offer those, and unless you've got some other crazy huge package, there's just not enough police officers that are floating around unaffiliated with, there's so many police entities that are recruiting right now because they need the cops. So, but kind of like I was watching, I think it was another Nick Johnson video. I've been on a Nick Johnson binge because he's got good stuff on cities that are having a tough time. And he was like, who would want to be a cop in the Tenderloin? Like, seriously. And he was even saying, would your spouse even allow you to be a cop in the Tenderloin? So, you've got these conditions. Hey, where do you want to be a cop? Well, the Tenderloin District, of course. I mean, why wouldn't I? I just want to really challenge my skill set and go there and see what's going on. No, you've made these areas just kind of a wasteland. And then all of a sudden you're going to declare an emergency, and the governor all of a sudden is on board. He's like, wow, we've gotten a lot of bad press. Boy, there are some YouTube videos out there, and this is not looking good. The optics on this in the Tenderloin right now, not good. Because you've just got people just running around doing crazy stuff nonstop. Kind of like you do here in Seattle. It's just, that's what we're doing. But we're okay with it. We're just going to see where it goes. And we're at that point where we're actually, entities are actually recognizing, hey, this is going on. What are we going to do about it? Well, here's one response, a state of emergency, which I think is fully warranted, but I don't know what it's going to do. We're just going to have to kind of grind through it and see what happens. So it's going to cut through some red tape and allow to get some stuff going on to help these folks out. Man, I don't see this going I don't see this going away anytime soon. And, stopping the fentanyl pills from coming into the country, good luck with that. What are you going to do there? Going to go back and do the war on drugs again? I don't know. This situation. And that's something that a lot of folks do not want to talk about, which is the fentanyl epidemic, because it means that just, straight up illegal drugs are just shooting straight right into our systems. And it's, it's killing people left and right. So super sad for all those folks dealing with this on the front lines, but this is not a new topic. It's just, it has been brought up because there's been so much crime attributed to this stuff. And so now we're going to do kind of a 2-for-1. We're going to do the addiction and crime together, and maybe a little homelessness, and see what happens. So that's what we got going on in San Francisco. Will that happen in Portland? Will that happen in Seattle? Yeah, I think so. I think you're going to see some stuff, because the optics of this, not good. Not good, especially the crime thing. Then you take one step back from the crime thing and go, well, what's really fueling that? Let's take a look at that. Let's do a study or two on that, and then we'll just kind of take a peek-see and figure this bad boy out, right? In the meantime, I will keep covering it because this is an ongoing topic for sure. All right, that's it for me. We'll just have to wait and see once we cut that red tape, cut, what happens? What are we going to do? How are we going to make it go away? How are we going to address it? That's what we'll find out. That's when the rubber hits the road, and stay tuned, because it's just going to take a long time, and you can't change these things overnight, because it didn't happen overnight. All right. Thanks so much for being with me here on the Seattle Real Estate Podcast. Love to have you subscribe, do all that stuff. Hit that notification bell. I know YouTube basically took all my notifications away to so many of my subscribers, and yeah, it's been a brutal process, but first world problems, let's be honest. Okay. Thanks again for being here. We'll catch up soon on the next one. Until then, stay safe. Bye for now.